Now, that lighting is welcome back to another episode of the Actionable Alignment Podcast. I'm back. Am I back? I think I'm back. I'm about to go into my luteal phase, so I might not be totally back. But I'm actually wanting to talk about a few really cool topics. And so over the next few weeks, I'm going to make my mission to upload one of these every week again and get back into the swing of things. Now, one thing that I want to talk about today is our menstrual cycle. So with that sort of thing, I guess I can give you a bit of a backstory, a bit of an update on why the menstrual cycle, your period, is so incredibly deeply important to me. And then I'm actually going to answer about 5 or 6 questions on cycle literacy. So literally understanding like what the hell is going on within my body. So piecing together today, let me, as someone who lives her life and very much is kind to herself around the different phases of her cycle, I don't experience that many PMS symptoms. I'm a little bit more irritable, a little bit more sensitive, but no crazy cramps, no need to medicate anything. But I also have some like good systems on lock that I built over the years to be able to support my menstrual cycle. Jeannie, you saying hi? So when I first got my period, let's go right back to there. And let me tell you a little bit about considering going in for surgery for endometriosis to remove the additional tissue that can grow, to get into a point where now I am completely unmedicated when it comes to my cycle, which again is, I'm lucky enough because endometrial tissue, if I had endometriosis tissue inside of me that was severe enough and didn't go away, then it could be a lot more serious over the course of the years. But I feel very lucky and blessed that it was extremely intense and awful period symptoms that I used to have in terms of bloating, constant constipation or diarrhea, like IBS symptoms, just bouncing between one or the other. And I used to say to my high school boyfriend that there's only really 1 week out of the month where I'm nice, and that's the week after I stop bleeding and the week before my luteal phase. But my luteal phase was pretty textbook. Your luteal phase goes for about 11 to 14 days after you ovulate. And so I would tell him that for the 2 weeks of the month leading up to my period, I'm a bitch. I have mood swings. I'm bloated. I'm in a shit mood. I eat a lot of like crap food because I'm just in my luteal phase. I'm PMSing. And then the week of my bleed, it was Shark Week. So there were all these sort of preconceived ideas that it was meant to be a lot more difficult and it was meant to be something that was a nuisance rather than something that we learn to love and understand gets to work as our monthly report card. Now, with that, I used to bleed every 28 days. I was lucky in that regard. When it got to day 31, I would go to the GP and I would literally be like, test me to see if I'm pregnant, because it was so like clockwork every 28 days. And I would bleed for between 9 to 11 days, with my longest bleed going 13 days. For at least 7 of those days, it would be extremely painful. Lots of blood, like hemorrhaging, so much blood. And then it would ease up and it would continue to spot up until about day 9 to 11. And then again, my longest being bleeding for 13 days. When I was on the pill, because I was on the pill way back when, which is why I have a bit of a strong opinion about it as well, the more that I learn. When I was on the pill, I wanted to go on the pill originally because for safety, to be able to have sex, because it's how I thought you had to look after yourself instead of using protection, like retard. Sorry, I said that word, if that offends anyone. But I'm just talking, so I'm sorry. With being on the pill, I got on it because my girlfriend in high school had gotten on the pill and her boobs got really big. I was like, I want big boobs. So I got on the same pill as her. I was like, I want to get on this one. My GP was like, why? I was like, I have really painful cramps and like my skin gets bad every period. So I just want to go on the pill. It's to protect me. Are you sexually active? Yes. So there were several times in my life where I restarted the pill and then I stopped. And I was one of the people who didn't sort of understand the fact that there's about a 3 to 6 month symptoms window that you can expect things to go a bit haywire. And then beyond that as well, you start creating some lasting cellular damage that can be quite tedious to repair. I'm trying to be careful with my words here in terms of absolutes. But so every time I got on the pill, it would get to about month 3. So months 1, 2, and 3, there wouldn't be too much change. There'd be a little bit of a shift, but it would come like clockwork. The way they say you only bleed for the sugar pills, it would only do that and then rah, rah, rah. But then after month 3, every time I had been on contraception, I would start bleeding the entire month. So I would be spotting the entire month and then it would get heavier around my bleed. And so one time I stayed on the pill and let myself bleed, telling myself that after 6 months it would finally regulate, only to bleed every single day for 3 months in a row. To finally say, this is enough. What the fuck is that? Right? So my experience with the pill personally has not been like daisies and roses, but my experience now, having coached and watched and helped women get off the pill as well, educating women on fertility awareness method, the fact you're really only pregnant for about like 5 days out of, you're really only fertile for about like 3 to 5 days out of the month. And it's even really less than that, but it's just that sperm has a matching pH to our cervical mucus at particular times of the cycle where the sperm can live in that mucus for up to 5 days, which is why we have a little bit of a longer fertility window. But yeah, so knowing the damage that the pill had done to myself, but also to the women that I've coached, I have a strong opinion about it that I'll share later. But basically, I finally stopped getting on the pill. Had learnt the damage that it was doing and the cost that it was, that for me to stay on the pill because my partner was too lazy or too inconsiderate to use protection, and for me to say, well, it's easier for me to live my life and live in this this study hard world, because at the time I was still in school, just finishing school, live in this study hard world where the more that I can, and starting PT as well, the more that I can just stunt these things and they can just happen once a month, frustrating, annoying, but I'll get over it, the better. That was my mindset. So when I finally got off the pill, I was very lucky. My partner at the time, he was really into gut health, so he also understood the negative side effects that can happen from it. And again, I bled for 3 months straight, so it was kind of nice to stop and stop bleeding, because losing that much blood consistently as a girly with low iron, it's not a vibe. So with getting curious and wanting to deeply understand what the hell was happening in my body, because I got my period when I was 8 and my mum got hers quite early on, which she also had told me. She'd prepared me and told me like what would happen, and she got me some pads and that sort of a thing. And I got it so young that I was so terrified of telling her that I'd basically waited, and I think I got maybe 2 cycles of being able to use pads, throw them out, be discreet. And then one time I'd run out and I didn't want to go to the shops to buy pads. I was a child. And then she had seen blood on my underwear in the laundry, and she was so sorry, Mum, if you're listening to this. The way I remember it, she was so angry at me for not telling her. And so because I got like stains on my underwear, I think. So just sort of like activated. And it really made me feel that having a period is a shameful thing. And now I'm like, I love my period and I love periods. With that beginning though, and then trying to girl boss my way into my early 20s with my business, and wanting to just shunt it all down so I could get through with my life, I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was miserable. And I don't know about you girls, but when your hormones are developing, and then like the way that, again, my mum and I used to fight, and the way I was so like, I thought I had quite deep depression, and trigger warning for anyone who needs to skip past this for self-harm, but I used to self-harm quite a lot, and I couldn't tell you if that fell in the same sort of timeline, but the deep feelings of sadness and the deep feelings of anxiety and just mood swings and just hating life, starting dieting as well when I was about 12. That was when I'm 13. I used to, for school, I would take 2 Cruskets to school, and so those 2 Cruskets I would then weigh out 4 grams of butter. I've been on my fitness pal for a while, fam. But I'd weigh out 4 grams of butter, 2 grams of Vegemite. I would have 1 Crusket at recess, 1 Crusket at lunch, and about 4 or 5 liters of like water with lemon in it. So then I get home and I'd fucking eat the house down. And then when it came to my period, I was like, well, I'm on my period. I need chocolate. I crave chocolate. And it's not wrong. We do typically want to have a bit more chocolate on our period, but dark chocolate can also have some positive effects to our period. Now, with this today and this conversation, I want to bring you to, if you're listening to this and you're new to my world, my sphere, then you may see me resolving or talking about how to sort of understand your menstrual cycle, resolve it, again, that sort of thing. But a really important thing to note is that the way that we get to that spot where all of a sudden we have this burning desire to solve the problem or to be a part of the solution for educating women is typically from our own little hero story. And so I wouldn't go to say it was a hero story going through my contraception journey, but it brought me to a point where I was frustrated and I felt betrayed by the medical system for having been put on the pill first when I was 13. even younger, I think 12. And being put on the pill straight away. And I know so many women, and it breaks my absolute heart that these women get on the pill from when they are teenagers, and they get off after 5, 10, 15, 20 years, some even longer. And their brain, their pituitary gland, their hypothalamus, like your brain is trying to communicate to your ovaries. And imagine a 5-lane highway between your brain and your ovaries. And it's just learning to turn all the lights on because they've been turned off. Like highway's been shut down for the last 5, 10, 15 years. It's a lot for your body. And the way that our menstrual cycle and our ovulation improves our bone density, but the way our menstrual cycle gets to serve as a feedback loop for how well you're looking after your body and how much you're actually living a vital life, you can't fake that. And so I think it's really cool that like there's no sweeping under the rug. If you have been doing a bit extra, putting in some extra stress on in your allostatic load, that sort of a thing, and not modulating, okay, these are my periods where I can be quite busy and I can push, and these are my periods where I do have to be kind to myself and wind things down. When we ignore all that, our luteal phase tells us, hey, you are pushing, you're not taking a break. Do you expect to continue to do this at this similar sort of a cadence without any sort of repercussions? So we get to the point where like, I'm frustrated, like I just want to girl boss my life away. And we get on the pill because it shuts off the symptoms, or we put the Mirena in, we put the IUD in, only to have a lot of these problems manifest the moment we get off any sort of hormonal contraception. And people say that the IUD, because the hormones are a lot more localized around the area opposed to obviously taking the pill, that it doesn't have as much of a negative effect on the rest of your body. Yet the women that I coach who get their Mirenas and their IUDs taken out, we still have a 3 to 6 month period post removal where they are dealing with weird as fuck symptoms. So don't tell me that your hormonal contraceptive doesn't make any sort of a difference to your body, or you should just be able to come straight off it, because what it is doing to women is outrageous. It's really robbing us of our joy and robbing us of our urges. I said it. You heard it here first. With dark chocky, I did want to touch on this and this really cool study from Jake Dolashell. Surprise. We got to get him back on the podcast. But in one trial, 45 women who experienced dysmenorrhea, like PMS, were divided into 3 groups. One group was 400 milligrams of ibuprofen. One group was 35 grams of dark chocolate. And one group was 330 mils of coconut water. While the coconut water group experienced little change in cramping and pain, there was no significant difference between the ibuprofen and the dark chocolate groups. Both saw significant reductions in pain. While chocolate itself probably won't fix period pain, including a good quality 90% dark chocolate could be worthwhile. My girls, you're out here smashing Nurofen, smashing NSAIDs, wondering why your gut health sucks and your IBS symptoms elevate every time you get into your luteal phase, and you feel bad for touching the chocolate? Swap it. Fuck over. So we're getting into business today, and I want to discuss cycle literacy. And so with this, I have 5 questions, and I'm really excited to get into this. This whole topic, I have my main topic, which is female health and hormone intelligence. And today we're going to be discussing cycle literacy. And then our subtopics that we have ongoing is energy availability. We'll talk about PMS and PMDD and hypothalamic amenorrhea recovery, returning of your period, getting your period back. We'll talk about thyroid function, and we'll talk a little bit about stress physiology. So today we're going to be diving into cycle literacy, understanding what the hell is going on in our body. And so question 1 is, what have I figured out that I think others would find useful? And that is that as someone who went through her own journey with contraception, also lost her period twice in her bodybuilding preps, and getting it back twice. One thing that I cannot highlight enough, if your cycle is imbalanced or you have a loss of cycle, then when you get your menstrual cycle back, or when you find equilibrium again with your hormonal health, there may be a period, if you are someone who is overtrained and underweight, A, or B, you're overtrained, you're sort of skinny fat, and you're really struggling with GI issues at the moment, and you're not eating enough, but you're training a lot. You fall into this category where when your menstrual cycle restores, there will typically be a weight restoration period. So it will typically be a period of time for hopefully only 4 weeks, but maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 6 months. There will typically be a weight restoration period between 2 to 10 kilograms on average. I can't tell you as a client, you can give me your blood work, you can give me your meal plan, you can follow everything I say, but I can't tell you where your checkpoint is going to be. And it was a really cool podcast that I listened to called Eat More Carbs, which is that cycle restoration for athletes. And they mentioned that when you are trying to get your menstrual cycle back, it's kind of like running a marathon, but you don't actually know where the finish line is. So you don't know if you are just on the edge of it and it's just going to happen, or if you're not. And this can be something super disheartening and super dysregulating for women in the pursuit of getting their cycle back, especially for the longer that you have been missing out on a cycle as well. So the longer that you haven't had one too. So with this, I like to say weight restoration around 2 to 10 kilograms. For me to get my cycle back after both of my shows, there was a period of time where I didn't gain that much weight after the show, both shows. And it was so funny, ironic. The universe has a funny sense of humor. So in my first show, I had dieted down to about 61 kilos. And after that, I went to Europe and I lived my normal life at home. I ate a bit more food, of course. I went to Europe. I did not hold back. I drank and ate so much. I came back home from Europe. So 6 weeks post-show. And I came back home from Europe or like 5 weeks post-show after being a month away. And my weight was 68 kilos. So over the 6 weeks, I put on about 7 kilos, about a kilo a week. Cool. When we are that depleted, great, that's fine. In my head, I was like, 68 kilos, we are winning. So, and I've just gotten back from Europe. Surely this is the worst it'll get. And then I will get my period will come back soon. I cried so much during the restoration phase of my period coming back. I had no idea why I was so emotional. No idea why. Like, my mum had cooked rice for me, and I've spoken about this before in a previous episode, and she just cooked it as per packet instructions, but I cook my rice with extra water so I can eat more of it. So I didn't realize the amount of dry weight rice that I'd have. I think it was 50 grams. Yeah, something like 50 or 80 grams of rice. Like, it wasn't an exceptional amount by any means. And she told me how much it was, like how much because I asked how she cooked it, that sort of a thing. It was so yummy. And she explained it to me. And I went in my room and I was crying so hard. My face felt like it was going to cramp up. So I was just like, I'm such a failure. I'm so horrible. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this, rah, rah, rah. The deep feelings and sensations. And if you're someone who's struggled with mental health before, those deep sensations and feelings, they feel so deeply real and so deeply challenging. And that restoration period of getting your cycle back, it really is. It's like you're sailing at sea. Those waves are big AF. Like, they're the sort of ones you see in a video where someone's like on a big ship and the waves are going, whoa, and you're like, oh my God, it's gonna capsize. And so, like, in reality, in your life, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna capsize. When you get your menstrual cycle back, fun fact, there will typically be a weight restoration period around 2 to 10 kilograms. And no one can tell you the specific number. No one can tell you the specific time frame. We can make a good guesstimate that because of the life cycle of a follicle to full maturation of the egg to ovulate, that takes about 100 days. The life cycle of a red blood cell takes about 100 days. We can assume that you need at least 100 days, so at least just a tick over 3 months, of consistently providing safety and fuel inputs for your body to be able to function in her most fertile state, or most fertile, begin in her most fertile state. And if you start stressing out about this weight, it delays it more. So that was first prep. I came back from Europe, 68 kilos. And then in the space of 3 weeks, I went from 68 kilos to 77 kilos. And my God, does that change you mentally? First time that happened, I just had no idea what was happening. And it just kept going up. I was like, look at what the hell is happening. I'm not eating that much extra food. And I was like, maybe I am eating this extra food. What's going on? So it went all the way up in the space of 3 weeks. You feel so just, whoa. It's just such a weird, when things happen slowly, you get used to it day by day. In that sort of a speed of time, I was just freaked out. So I went up to 77.5 kilograms, and then I got my cycle back. And I got my cycle back. I knew I had to maintain my weight once my cycle came back for at least 3 cycles. So at least that 100-day period. So I did my best, and I still tried to shortcut and diet, and then I failed each time, but 77.5. So I do a full, basically 2-year break from competing, come back, do my next show, and I get down to 62 kilos, around the same weight. I lose my period, also around the same weight, around 68. So my next show, which this was last year now, I come out of the show, and I'm like, it's okay. I'm not going to put on the same amount of weight because I actually don't need to. Like, my usual comfortable healthy weight is between like 72 to 74. Like, that's sort of like 70 to 75 is where we would hang out. And so 72 to 74 was like my tight window where like I feel good, I look good, I'm feeling great. And so I got to 69 after the show, and again, really nice. It took me about 4 or 5 months to get back up to 77. So I just dropped that. I got back up to 77. But what happened was I went from slow and steady up to about 72. And then from 72, my body was just like, hey, again, 2-week period, 3.5 kilo increase. And I'm like, what's happening to me? And then over that next week period, another 2 kilos. I got back up to 77.5. My period came. Your girl had never been at 77. Never really been at that weight. I'd always hung around, again, the low 70s. Max I'd ever get in build is like 76. And so seeing 77.5 and then building in my build, going up to 80, I had a new benchmark of like, as long as I don't get to 81, I'm not going to feel so like rubbish. But it took me to get back to there. And it didn't matter that it took me 9 weeks to get my cycle back after my first show. It took me a couple months to get my cycle back, almost 4 months to get my cycle back after my second show, off the top of my head. And I had to hit the exact same weight. And the weight came on in the last few weeks before my bleed came. That was when a lot of the weight packed on. So there is a specific sort of allowance that you need to give yourself, that the weight that you are going to put on in pursuit of restoring your menstrual cycle or in pursuit of healing your menstrual cycle, you're probably going to find that there is a weight restoration period, not really a weight loss period. And so this is something where for those girls who do want to restore their menstrual cycle but are terrified of gaining weight, there is give yourself a window of time. Give yourself a window of time to start practicing, hey, if I speak poorly about myself at any weight, how do I expect to, if you're somebody who wants your period back so you can eventually have a child, you're going to be holding on to some extra weight and a child. You need to get over the fact that you are not always going to be your skinniest and your leanest, and that is okay. And in fact, your skinniest and your leanest, 9 times out of 10, you are not your healthiest. Okay, I cannot say that there is even one woman who is underweight that I can think of who has a healthy, pain-free menstrual cycle. And it's not to say that you have to put on body fat and stay there for a while, but it's something to say that, yeah, if you want to get tight for an event, like tight and small, then understand that tight and small, if it's a little bit smaller than where your body naturally comfortably sits, you may struggle to maintain that and have a healthy menstrual cycle. And from that healthy menstrual cycle, healthy vitality, healthy mindset, less anxiety, less depression, less food noise, all of that sort of a thing. So what I've figured out over my cycle restoration journey and helping others do the same is that there is typically a weight restoration period, and I want to put a figure on it of 2 to 10 kilos. And if you can tell yourself that, hey, let's give myself that benchmark of, I hope it's 2, but if it's 10, I'm content with that. And I can live with that, knowing it doesn't have to, the initial weight restoration to get the cycle back doesn't have to be all of that body fat that may accumulate in that short period of time, doesn't have to stay. But you know that your healthy weight will probably be in that range of the before the weight restoration starts to pack on. So say you hang out at 70 and then in a space of weeks you go up to 75 and then you get your period. You know, between 70 to 75, that's that spot where you can probably hang out and your body says, hey, I'm okay, we don't have to turn down all of our systems as much yet. So with that sort of a thing, I think that when it comes to understanding, again, your body and where she is comfortable, a lot of that also is a bit of acceptance that, hey, if you're not lean enough yet, maybe instead of focusing on consistently dieting or not giving a fuck about your diet, you could instead start to pay attention to, can I start to build muscle here? And if I want to be leaner at this weight, can I start focusing on building more muscle so that I physically can be leaner at this weight, look better, feel better, and function better, instead of constantly trying to shrink every part of my body when my body is constantly rebelling against that act? Or I'd be fucking there by now and I'd stay there. You heard it here first. Stick to your build. Now, question 2, and I might even just answer 2 depending, because your girl takes a yap. So what excites me about understanding your menstrual cycle? Unlocking the deeper understanding and wisdom of your cycle. Okay, and how it allows you to actually produce greater work in your environment, but also live a deeply enriched life where you can set the right boundaries with yourself and others to honor your hormonal motivational troughs and peaks within your monthly cycle. I know for me, in my luteal phase, it is like my holiday week. I do what I need to do with work. And as someone who's worked through a lot of Europe trips and that sort of a thing, holidays and working is fine for me. Jumping on calls with my clients, doing their check-ins, writing their programs, great. Doing all the extra bits and bops of like, oh, we've got to expand. We've got to just do all this crazy shit. In my luteal phase, I'm like, you know what? I'm content with getting done what I need to make sure that my community is happy. And I'm content with making sure that everyone else feels looked after. And then I need to give back to myself. But you speak to me in my ovulation or my follicular window, and I'm like planning events, I'm planning retreats, I'm collabing with people. There's so many things where I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And it's just go, 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 go. And that's a beautiful energy of estrogen and testosterone just going like, bang, we're so motivated, let's get everything done. I'm getting all my gym sessions done, I'm feeling great. Understanding that I can use that window and prioritize in that window, organizing, getting shit done, getting shit booked in, amazing. But then make sure that window, once I feel so ovulation, and then for me, I tend to have a bit of a dip around like day 19 or 20 of my cycle. And that dip in energy tells me like, we're about to start becoming a little bit introverted. Let's maybe not book heaps of stuff, or we're going to start to feel a bit more shitty. So for me, if I have heaps of things booked in and I've really overstretched myself in my luteal phase, then I'll typically notice that my cramps are quite intense. I wake up in the night multiple times a night, the day before I bleed or the day that I bleed. And I wake up multiple times in the night. And sometimes I even wake up and I'm in so much physical pain, I have to go into the other room. Now my partner, we live together. I have to go into the other room to stretch and cry. So your period is your report card. And if you are constantly suffering from symptoms, are you eating enough? Are you sleeping enough? Did you book a shitload of stuff on your luteal phase? And if you're someone whose cycle is a little bit sort of haphazard, say you're dealing with PCOS, that sort of a thing, that's another lifestyle. It's another umbrella term for a cluster of symptoms, PCOS, that can be managed a lot through lifestyle and supplementation, and does not, again, if you don't let it continue on for fucking ages, like a lot of us do, because we're like, no, like it'll get better. I'm going to try this next supplement. And then I'm going to keep grinding myself into the ground with my work. I'm going to stay with this person that makes me feel shit about myself, or like just makes me feel dull, instead of being with someone that makes me feel really happy. And I'm just going to tough it out. And you keep toughing it out. And then it gets to the point where you probably do need something a bit more serious, like surgery to burn the cysts off, or surgery to burn the extra tissue off. And again, I'm not saying that you can't do everything right and still have that happen. Again, I don't want to put a black and white, you obviously don't treat yourself well enough if your menstrual cycle's terrible. But there is a stress bucket that our body has, and it's called allostatic load, where you can tolerate only so much stress. So if you're reducing your intake or you're exercising a lot, energy expenditure is higher than energy intake. We can assume that that's an additional stressor, a metabolic stressor on the body. If we are not sleeping well, then we can assume anything under 7.5 hours. For most of us women, again, we want to aim for 8 to 10 ideally. Anything under 7.5 hours, we can assume that that's causing an additional stress. We don't like our job, or our job is in an extremely stimulating, stressful time. For me, I run my own business. I'm very grateful for that every single day of my life. However, there are periods of time where I'm doing a lot of growth and I'm doing a lot of expanding, and that can make me extremely wired, where it's like I don't want to eat. I just can drink coffee and just work and work and work and work and work, and I love it. And like I'm sort of in this ovulation energy, but it will tip into my luteal phase and I'll just keep going and I'll keep studying and I'll keep working, all that sort of thing. It's an additional stressor still on your body. Just because you are caffeinating and medicating and taking your supplements does not undo the additional stresses that you're putting on your body. So we know all this, but we don't always implement it. And so what I like to do is in my luteal phase, I'm like, okay, if you are giving extra, like the extra work that you're doing, you need to rest doubly as hard. If you're giving, just you're looking after your community. So for me, again, just looking after my community, not stressing too much about posting on Instagram. If I've got something amazing, if I don't, I'm not fussed. My job is to look after my team. With doing that, I'm like, you're doing good. Make sure you like go for a massage this week or go for a walk. If you need to move out your training days, like change those around, absolutely fine. Just take it easy. With yourself. Make sure you look after yourself with your food. If you feel like you need a lazy day, you feel like you need a little nap, set a 30-minute timer and go have a nap and then get on with your activities. If I'm working doubly as hard, then like my ass is at the sauna, I'm in the Normatec booths, I'm getting a massage, and I typically am not going out on the weekend. So I'm not socializing. So that's just another stimulatory bucket for me, where in my luteal phase, not nearly as extroverted as in my like ovulation. So deeply beginning to understand your cycle, you start to, over the course of a 3-month period and over the course of a year, you start to see the fruits of your labor with what you're building with your business, whilst also simultaneously enjoying the present and your everyday life. Whereas a lot of the times as women, we build our business and we build, and everyday life, we're feeling really stressed. You're waking up in the night, you're not sleeping properly, you're not digesting your food properly, let alone having an appetite to even eat. And you're like, go, because you're like, I got to go now while I've got the motivation and that sort of thing. And so you get through 3 months, then it goes 6 months of that. And then like you're losing weight and you're feeling like you look great and like you're giving absolute girl boss energy, and then you lose your period and you're like, after a few really bad menstrual cycles, a few really bad like luteal phases, for me it takes me like 2 or 3 with quite intense symptoms, and then my period's like, I'm out. So when you learn that time you can't control, like your business can be going amazing, your career can be going amazing, and then tomorrow World War III, I can't even say it, I'm not going to say it, but you just don't know. So it's like, why keep pushing out to miss out on the things that are actually refilling your cup for the sakes of building to high business career goal at speed and at pace? Like, I want to do this by the time I'm 25. I want to do this by the time I'm 30. Like, yes, that's amazing, but it will also happen if you have the capacity to actually hold that life. And so if you are constantly feeling depleted and sick, how long do you expect to continue just grinding at that cadence until you burn out and everything gets to shit? Like, if your business ran, do I still have this question up? Okay, here. If your business or career continued to grow exactly as it is, what version of you will be able to sustain it long term? The one who keeps pushing through exhaustion, or the one who knows how to switch off and restore her energy? It's not about having less. It's not about achieving less. It's about achieving smart. And so with that, I truly believe in what really excites me and what I love educating my women on is like, luteal phase is your phase to chill, drop the expectations of yourself, tune in, your symptoms will be better, you'll have less cramping, you'll have less bloating, you will feel so much nicer mentally, you won't have the weird fucking thoughts going in your head like, I suck and I hate my life. And you'll be able to get through your luteal phase being like, okay, I'm feeling gentle, I'm feeling sensitive, I'm feeling chill. Okay, I just want to have my hot shower and I just want to chill. When it comes into your follicular window, you'll be like, all right, baby, all cylinders firing. We are on. And you'll get that work, that beautiful creative work that is coming from a state of replenishment instead of a state of so that really excites me. And I really want to share and express that with you guys. Now, coming into, we'll do one more question. What is my unpopular opinion? And so my unpopular opinion about understanding your menstrual cycle is that the birth control pill is harming women's health. And when you're using it to fix your symptoms, regulate a cycle, or have a lack of cycle unless you're on the pill, it's not a real fucking bleed. And so with your birth control pill, oftentimes if you take the oral contraceptive, or again, even if you get an IUD, there are hormonal shifts and changes that your whole body responds off of all of these hormonal cues. And every time you are shutting those down, every time you're missing an ovulation, you're lowering your risk of bone density. And when you get to 40s, and like, don't you think it's funny that the women who were put on birth control in their teenage years now are the adults struggling with fertility and get an IVF? Don't you think it's kind of fun? Okay, so when you decide, or when you go into the GP because your boyfriend's too lazy to wear a condom, or like he just doesn't like, get over it or have a baby. No, I'm just kidding. But there are so many ways you can understand that you're actually not pregnant the whole time. You're not fertile the whole time of your cycle. The birth control pill, if you have extremely intense, difficult symptoms, the birth control pill is a band-aid and a mask and is not actually addressing any of the root cause of those symptoms. And the longer that you have your highway turned off from your brain to your ovaries, good luck with the long ass journey that it is for so many women, that is so heartbreaking, of still having to go through what I said at the start, that weight restoration period, and go through the hormonal chaos of restoring your menstrual cycle after an extremely long time without a natural one. Okay, I have a girlfriend from the gym who I know she was on the pill for I think 20 something years, and her prolactin was so incredibly high when she came off the pill, which is one of our hormones, that she was having so many issues with her body and restoring a natural menstrual cycle. She was having so many difficulties with energy, with tolerating particular foods, and even with sort of injury prevention as well. So training became so difficult for her. Ironically, not as much when she was on the pill, but the journey to getting off the pill, because she realized that if she wants to have some healthy, strong bones, she's going to have a better chance of doing that by getting off it sooner rather than later. That journey has been a hell of a lot. I think it's been about 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer, maybe even 5 or 6, of working through the damage that the oral contraceptive pill had done to her body. And when it comes to, if you have a lack of understanding about sexy time, should you really be doing it? But the only reason, because again, I'm a girl's girl, I'm here for it. The only reason I believe that the hormonal contraceptive, so the IUD or the birth control pill, can be extremely beneficial is if you are, like, if you're not good with your boundaries, you should probably work on that. But if you are in a situation where it is physically unsafe for you to leave, or physically unsafe where you are the last thing you want is a child with this person, but you don't want to tell them. But again, you feel physically unsafe to leave. Something like that. But otherwise, your ability to begin to learn and nurture your cycle, A. B, your partner's ability to wear a condom. It's not that hard. You can have a beautiful, rich life without the gut health issues as much, without the shitty luteal phase, and learn to love yourself and enjoy the calm, the peace, the play that comes with the progesterone before you bleed in your luteal phase. You can live such a beautiful, enriched, full, vibrant, and vital life and not have to be in this weird hormonal sort of grey cloud until you finally decide, like, maybe I should get off it. And then you have to go through the journey of being like, okay, well, before you get off it, one of the best things you can do, okay, I'm tangenting. One of the best things you can do before you get off the pill is start with a coach who understands the protocols and requirements and what may happen to your body, but start with a coach who can get you prepared on particular supplements that can help to nurture your body's natural state of hormones and nurture your body through the changes so that hopefully your restoration period of weight and your restoration period of symptoms getting back to normal, not having symptoms flare back up again. You want to be with someone who can guide you through that and make sure that you can minimize that as much as possible. So as much as vendetta, I would just, like, for me, I didn't wait. When I got off the pill after I bled for 3 months straight, I didn't wait until it hit the sugar pill. So I think I just stopped taking it halfway through. I was like, this is fucked. I was like, I cannot be still bleeding. So I think I just stopped taking it halfway through. But again, it was a 3-month stint after being off it, probably 2 years. It wasn't that long. If you've been on the pill for a few years, my biggest piece of advice is organize yourself to prepare to get off it within the next 1 to 2 months and get yourself in a good habit and routine, and with a coach who understands how to sort of guide you through the protocols. Have a look at your blood work, see where things are sitting and see how things adjust. So don't be afraid to go get your test done just to see how things are sitting and see how things will change, and educate yourself on fertility awareness method, but also understand that in order to protect yourself from having sex, especially if it's with strangers, so especially if you're on the pill because, like, you want to go out on a night out and just, like, have your fun time, STDs are not prevented by hormonal contraception. So you heard it here first. Now, we got 3 questions out, but I think I did, in terms of explaining sort of how it happened with my story and my menstrual cycle and understanding the deep reason why I'm so passionate about educating women on deeply understanding and respecting their cyclical nature as a woman. I hope I've shared that today. So if you guys liked this, I would love for you to share it on your stories, like it on Spotify. And yeah, hopefully we're back. Like, should we just be back? Should we just fucking do it? Because I'm in my ovulation. So maybe, again, luteal phase, I might be a little bit bratty. If you guys like that, let's bring the energy. Let's bring the heat. Next week, we will be getting into understanding a little bit more with female health and hormonal intelligence and energy availability. So eating enough calories, how to do it without putting on a shit ton of weight, but also the fact that you may again have a little bit of a restoration period where your body's like, holy shit, I'm being fed for the first time in a decade. And there's a little bit of an adjustment period where when you are learning to love yourself, you can maximize that, optimize it, biohack it, whatever. So if you guys enjoyed this, let me know. Other than that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.